I always think like we are born once physically. We have nothing to do with that birth. We don't get to decide whether we wind up here on earth living out our human experience. So we are born once physically, but I've learned through just observing my own life that we rebirth ourselves multiple times. So hopefully this video releases some of you from the shackles of feeling shame, guilt, confusion around why you have so many moving parts to yourself, because I am the exact same way. And I think I said in a couple of reels ago, not reels, where this is YouTube, a couple of shorts ago, like I have so many different parts to myself that it's kind of hard to answer the black and white question, like, you know, so tell me about yourself, because those certain things can change. Like the things that I like can change, how I show up in the world, that can change. And so it's kind of hard for me to really answer that question. That's just something that someone has to observe to really get a feel of how that person is. I accept every single part of me, and certain parts of me I don't necessarily like. Certain parts of me I absolutely love. Certain parts of me I'm like, we need to sharpen that a little bit more. And certain parts of me I'm like, no, I can't accept this. This has to change. And recently I feel like I've been through so many different seasons, especially since 2020. I feel like I've lived 10 different lives, and I have become 10 million different people. And sometimes whenever I am entering into a new season, I kind of get a little sad. I get a little sad because I'm leaving a certain identity behind. Like with my debt-free journey, a very motivated, sun up, sun down, strictly head down. I'm working on my goals. I'm hitting my goals. I'm reaching new heights. I'm always looking for something to do. So that leaving that part of me was a bit sad, because I left that identity for a more I'm just here type of identity. Like I'm just here, I'm kind of lost, I don't know what I'm doing. And for a long time, like I found myself trying to get certain versions of me back, when in reality we're not supposed to. Like life is always constantly going through seasons. We can learn a lot about looking just at nature, like with the trees. Now the leaves are changing, they're falling off, the trees are going to be looking scraggly and bare bones when they were once like beautiful and lush. But they don't really argue or fight against nature. They just kind of do what they do whenever they get their cues that it's time to change. And the one thing about it is that we know they're going to, within the next season or so, go right back to looking, and I'm looking at them now, go right back to looking how they were before. Maybe not exactly, but they still are going to go through a different transformation. If you are just really feeling freaking lost, or you are currently in the process of redefining yourself, the beauty of it is like there's so much potential in new. There is so much potential in the unknown, but I know human nature is like unknown, change. We just don't like it. We don't really like changing much, even though a lot of us do desire constant change or whatever. When it comes to us and our identities and our egos, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I am one that was completely filled with ego, and I don't think a lot of us know that we are. But when you really take the time to sit down and kind of like strip yourself of everything that you once used to define yourself, like it was probably ego. And even though like what you like changes, you know, your wardrobe may change, your vocabulary may change, I still find that we're still like, we're like a quilt that's stitched together. We're still made up of those parts of us that we were before, even going through childhood. I have little bits and pieces of small little Diana stitched into my quilt that I sometimes try to run away from, but sometimes I lean into. And I think with the realization of knowing that I'm not supposed to be one-dimensional, I have so many moving parts to myself. Like, I'm kind of okay. Anxiety is kind of settling, and I can really rest in all of those parts. And being transparent, sometimes showing up, especially online, I feel like I have to be committed to one identity. I feel like, you know, there are certain parts of me that I kind of have to hide or water down a bit because I don't want to offend other people. I don't want to annoy other people. I don't want other people defining me by, you know, this one post or this one story or this one video. And it's kind of funny because you hear the common piece of advice of, you know, show up as you are authentically. Show up in the world, not just online, just in the world as you are authentically, and like your people are going to naturally gravitate to you. And yeah, that sounds good, but when you actually have to do it, it's a lot harder to do. It's a lot harder to allow yourself to do it because we're still humans. We still desire connection, and there's still going to be that part of us that's like, how are they perceiving me? I really don't think there is one human being walking this earth who just completely 100% does not care how other people perceive them. Because once again, I really do think that that's just a piece of us that's human nature. Some people are better at it than others. Some people may still allow themselves to show up as who they are in all of their moving parts, despite what other people may think. But you're still thinking of how you are being, of how you're being perceived. And I think that trying to perceive how other people are seeing you causes us to like push down certain parts of us that are just us. Like, it's just part of your identity. And like I said in my short, I'm like, sometimes I am modest, sometimes I am ratchet, sometimes I cuss and drop F-bombs, and other times, like, you know, I want to share what I read in scripture, and sometimes I'm very like spiritual and I'm in my Erykah Badu, Janae Aiko era, and you know, other times I'm listening to Young Dolph, and other times I'm listening to Kirk Franklin. And then saying this, I'm also like, it's like we don't realize that what we are absorbing from other people in our lives, it comes out in how we speak to ourselves. Because it's like, this is not right. You can't do this. You have to pick a side. You have to pick an identity. Like, you can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You have to be very intentional about the identity that you show up as. Like, who is the person you want to show up as? But sometimes, depending on the day, it may be very different for me. And I just kind of refuse to keep believing that I have to pick a side. And if I don't pick a side, that I'm wrong, that I'm living life incorrectly, and that maybe others are more morally just than I am. Like, why can't I just completely be who I am in all moving parts of myself? Why can't I be ratchet? Why can't I be spiritual? Why can't I love God? Why can't I be creative? Why can't I be modest? Why can't I lean into my sexuality? Why is that? Why is everything so either or? And I guess that's the question that I have taken the long way to get to. Like, why does everything have to be very black and white? Why does everything have to be very either or? We are just, as humans, very complex. And I don't think that I want to live my life as someone that's just a black and white version of who I'm supposed to be. Like, I really don't think that the creator has created me to be one-dimensional or anyone to be one-dimensional. I think that we were created to show up authentically as ourselves in all parts of ourselves, and that may very well change from day to day. And I'm getting to a place, hopefully one day soon, where like I accept all parts of me. And child, even the bad, I'm rocking with the bad. Like, not being proud of it, but just knowing that I have the space and the grace to change, because once again, I get to rebirth myself as many times as I want to. You know, tomorrow I could have red hair and take on a personality of like whimsical, and the next day I can have black hair and whatever, you know what I mean? That would be a little extreme, but I'm just saying, just so you can understand that you have the ability to rebirth yourself as many times as you need to, or as many times as you want to. And who is someone else to tell you that you're changing way too much? Who came up with a limit on how many times a person can change? And even when someone who is known for something online, even, or maybe in your community, they've been known to be this exact same way for so long that people have this perception of them in their minds. And the second that they allow themselves and have the courage to rebirth themselves into something new, then all hell breaks loose. Because how dare you step outside of the box that I put you in? Like, you can only be this type of person. You can only be this type of player. You can only be this type of creative. You can only be this type of, you know, entrepreneur. And the second that you step out of that box, I am uncomfortable because of your identity change, because of you trying something new. And I feel like it's time for us to release ourselves from trying to please other people's perspectives of ourselves. And I'm speaking to myself too, like, why it's okay, Dinah, to like embrace different parts of you. And it's okay for other people to misunderstand you, and it's okay because people are going to do it anyway, no matter what identity that you show up as, or like what part of you that you want to showcase in that day. Like, people are going to have their perspectives, they're going to have their opinions. But what really matters, and we say it all the time, is like how we feel about ourselves. And I don't think that I can really respect myself if I'm giving too much thought of how other people are seeing me. Like, I love being multifaceted. I love having so many different moving parts about myself, to where like sometimes I'm kind of confused, but at the same time, like, I have a really good grip of who I am at my core. And I know, like, I try to show up every single day and be a good person, be intentional about how I make other people feel and how I make myself feel, and just be like light and love to people. Like, be an example of like God and God to me is love. Like, how am I embodying that? How am I being a good person? And I know, like, if it doesn't fit the mold of how other people go about their lives and show different parts of however they want to present themselves, like it can kind of get into a messy situation, because I just hold fast and take possession of so many things, and so many things like God we take possession of, and then it's like, oh no, you're not handling this the way that I would handle it, and so you're wrong and I'm gonna ridicule you. But I take that as love too. Like, you know, it's all in love. It's just not the way that I'm gonna show it. But if you don't cling to dear life and have possession of certain parts of you, I just find that change becomes a lot easier. Obviously, just letting go of possession of everything, like people and things, change is a lot easier. And change is one thing that is sure. It's gonna happen. You're gonna have to change eventually. Things are gonna have to change eventually, and it sucks because your security blanket is gone. But it's beautiful too, because once again, like, you don't know what's behind that change, and not knowing what is behind something is kind of like a thriller. Like, it's exciting to sit and daydream about things like that. So that's just kind of where I am with it. I'm good today. Like, I'm at peace today. I've really been in like my nature vibe era, like looking, and I keep looking out because there's like butterflies and stuff and trees. And that's my thing. I love that, and I love sunlight. But tomorrow I may be bumping Nipsey Hussle, okay? I may be bumping Nipsey Hussle, but I'm still Diana Marie, and you know, I'm just Diana Marie that's listening to ratchet music for today, you know? And I might be really in my, I got this, I gotta get up and I gotta get moving and I gotta get this work done type of mode. And even saying that, it's exhausting showing up as one person that does one thing, and your personality is one way, and you know, you're scared to show something else and you might cut that out. Girl, it's exhausting. I don't have time. I can't do that. I can't do that, and I'm trying to find a way to release myself from that. Just not even through videos, just through people, like through people, period. I don't want you to try to define me. Please don't try to define me, because every day may be a new part of me. But yeah, I hope you release yourself from this black and white picture that you've tried to paint of yourself. You have so much color. I feel like we have so much color. There's so many parts of us that we refuse to dive into and learn because other people say it's wrong, or we haven't even convinced ourselves that it needs to be suppressed and that it's wrong. I don't know. But I hope you do it, and I hope you found some color. I'm done rambling, so okay, I will catch you guys in the next video, whenever that is.